and I've asked panelists to come up with anecdotes of situations where it has been good that there was an owner or that there were owners who did something when it was needed. And we'll start the other way, and you can prepare an answer from your experience too, once the owners have had their answer. Teresa, if you start with, if you have a good anecdote of such a situation, please.
Well, let's see if it's a good one. This story is about our building up our electronics factory. And in the 90s in Finland, there was, of course, a lot of discussions. That was the Nokia time, Nokia booming, of course, where electronics should be done. Should it be in China? Should it be in Finland? Of course, we were part of that discussion since we belong also to the electronics industry. And we had a lot of people, of course, having the opinion that it should be outsourced, of course, because the Chinese were great. And but then we had people thinking that, no, we should keep it in our own hands. And I think that was something that, of course, the owners also had to think of, because, you know, which direction to go to, because we had both had pros and cons, and there were a lot of people actually voting for the outsourcing part. It was very fashionable in Finland to do that at that point. And we as owners actually decided at that point that we want to keep it in our own hands. So we decided to build an electronics factory in Finland, which was absolutely unfashionable. And we actually also built it in 2008. And I think everybody knows what happened in 2008. We had the financial crisis and everybody thought we were crazy. But we did build it, and the factory opened in 2009. And ever since, it's been a great success, to be honest. And of course, we have the skills. It has a lot of influence on our delivery capability. And of course, we have a lot of our core competence in the house still, and we didn't lose it to the Chinese. So I think we're still very, very proud as owners for that decision. And it was a really big investment. I mean, always 20 million euros. So I think it was something to be proud of as owners.
And you feel it was really ultimately the owners who took that decision?
I think so, yes. So.
Antti, do you have an example of
yes,
good?
Of course. We'll have to figure out which one to pick, but I also, you know, when you have several generations in the board, you can also educate a little the next generations. And I remember, of course, and then it's of course the owners who are behind the selection of the board members. So when I started some years ago, there was still a gentleman by the name of Jaakko Lassila in the board of Kone, and Jaakko was getting a bit old. At least I thought. I don't know. He wasn't so old, but I thought that he was old. we have to. I made a proposal to my father. How about if Jaakko would now leave the board and we could invite Iiro Viinanen, who was then actually the heading Pohjola. Because actually Jaakko Lassila came as Pohjola. Yes. And my father told me, that's a very good idea. You talk to Jaakko and I will talk to Iiro.
Yeah. A very, very good way of transferring the ownership responsibility in a stepwise fashion. Jan, do you have an example of a good ownership involvement in a particular point where it was important to have an owner's voice?
I think we have many, because we have very few but rather complicated projects with our ships. So it's every project's very important to have a very deep understanding of what we are engaging in. And of course, yeah, I think for us the most recent important example is the takeover of Meyer here in Finland, our first major foreign investment, and also a very risky one at that time. We had a nice business plan, but it all came very different in good and bad. So, but you have to be flexible. But that was really an ownership decision. I mean, we work with have our working model has been always with a mixture of management team with family members and external managers, and that has played out very well. But in this case, it was really, did we as a family think it's a good idea to take this important risk and also chance?
Thank you. Does something come to your mind?
Yes. I'm thinking perhaps the best example in Denmark is what happened to Lego, from the Lego bricks. They were in trouble at the start of the century, in the beginning of the noughties, in big trouble, because in the toy market there were two trends. High tech, meaning kids want to build computers and play PlayStation and so on. High touch, Barbie, And Lego, where is Lego in that game? So basically they decided to build computers, and go that way, and it was a disaster. And they found the company was in deep financial troubles and, what to do. But the owners, they had already taken some money out. They have a very big investment company on the side. But they went back, with money, and very importantly, the main owner found an external chairman of the board. So he was actually, my God, not just financing it, but also stepping back and say, I'll be here with you, but you're in charge now, recognizing for the sake of the company that his ego was less important and his money, his financial situation was less important. And it was a massive success, as you maybe know. So the brand value of Lego and their profits and so on, spectacular. And what did they do? Back to basics, back to the bricks. Yeah.
I think these are very good examples because they're very different. We have two examples of the family really being behind massive investment decisions that maybe a board wouldn't feel comfortable to take. We have one example of the owners really reacting to underperformance and thinking about rescuing something that they hold dear. And we have one example of the owners really taking the responsibility of populating the board with the right people as times change. And those are exactly the kinds of roles that owners hold.